This episode is brought to you by livingrelief.com, a Wolfpack owned business that is your source for Delta 8, CBD, THCV, gummies, tinctures, chocolates, all North Carolina based quality products that can help with sleep, anxiety, pain, and countless other medical benefits. Highly recommend checking these guys out. Their stuff is really good. And if you use code REDWHITE20, you get 20% off your first order. It's REDWHITE20. Livingrelief.com. Living, RELEAF.com. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, this is the audio from our Twitter space following the Carolina game on Saturday. It was a really good conversation. We had folks from all over on. Cam Bennerman, former player. Kenton Gibbs covers Locked On Wolfpack. Cory Smith, PackPride. BP Cox, InsidePackSports. Matt Coe, Wolfpacker. We had a lot of folks on with some really good thoughts on the program and Dillingham and just pretty much everything that you would think. Good conversation. Thought everybody would want to listen. Audio is not as great as we like, but it's a Twitter space, so we'll deal with it. Thanks for listening. Go Pack.
All right, folks. That was a shit show. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start with this one. It's not unexpected. It's not. I was surprised a little bit by how crowded it was, or how good the crowd was. I really thought it would be predominantly Carolina fans, or at least a large percentage, and it didn't seem to be. I think the Carolina folks in the student section is really, that one's always baffling to me. We saw, I'm not advocating fighting, but there was a lot of fights when I was in school. If you saw a Carolina fan in the student section, just were not hospitable. But the problem is the product on the floor. And I get that they're undermanned, because they are, even with guys who are very good players. They're just, I get the injury excuse, but he's not maximizing what this team's got. First of all, let's talk about Kenton Smith, who I'm a huge fan, have been all year, but you simply cannot let him have the green light like that. 22 shots is too many. And it's too many because a lot of them are bad shots. Early in the shot clock, deep threes, had been no passes. It's just fundamentally poor basketball, and it doesn't take a genius to see it. I know everybody's seeing it. And it's just, you can't let that happen. The coach has to rein him in some. In the first half, he played 19 of 20 minutes. I haven't seen the box score to see what he finished at, but I think he played majority of the game in the second half. You can't let that happen. You can't do that. Cam Hayes played 9 minutes in the first half. Cam Hayes was your leading scorer. And he was the only one to play in single digits other than Breon Pass and Casey Morsell. Breon Pass and Jalen Gibson. Come on now. What is going on there? How do you let that happen? He's got zero idea what he's doing. The rotations don't make any sense. The product on the floor doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this anymore. I'm not surprised by the outcome of this game. I'm surprised the amount of people are just like, yeah, he should get another year. The mythical cloud, doesn't prevent you from passing the ball. He had 2 assists in the first half. 2. You can't do that. That's just not how this game is played. You have to have ball movement. You have to space the floor. You have to have good shots. And sure, we shot 23% in the first half because you take a lot of bad shots. How many times did we see a guy come down the floor and either jack up a deep three or just dribble into the trouble and take a bad shot. Now they finished with 10 assists, I think, so they had 8 in the second half, and it's no surprise they scored more points in the second half. And they actually closed the gap, whether it was Carolina just pulling off the gas or what, but they clearly moved the ball and got better shots. It's not that hard to see. It's not that hard to see that how poorly coached this team is. It is infuriating. We got Eli. You have the mic. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, as opposed to like where we want to go. What do you think is next? Because personally, I think Keatts is going to be here next year. I think, from my understanding, the buyout is around $4.5 million.
Correct.
I could be wrong there, but I think he'll be here. I don't want him to, but I think he will be. I think we're a program that just is not. I don't see us being willing to pay that much money to move on. I hope not, though.
So here's where this has been. So a couple weeks ago, it was almost certain that we were keeping him, and the whole caveat was barring a disaster, and disaster being 2-5 or 3-5 in the last 7 or 8 games. Well, we're 1-6 now, 1-5 maybe, with 2 games left, and you lost at home to Boston College for the first time since 2007. And then, so that was what we heard. We heard that he's coming back. He's for sure going to get another year. Boo's on board. Woodson's on board. Fast forward past to the Boston College game, and folks have been saying that now Boo has changed his mind, and Chancellor Woodson is the obstacle. Like, again, this is all rumors and secondhand information. Some of it's true, some of it I don't know. Why Woodson would be the obstacle for Boo to do his job, and that is probably not a public conversation that we can have without getting some folks really mad. I don't know how to say that, but if that is the case, that is mind blowing to me. It is mind blowing that Woodson would be, keeping Boo from doing his job.
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment. Kind of Boo Corrigan will get tested on his decision making. This is kind of his. I mean, I heard somebody throw out saying this is like a watershed moment for him. It really is, like figuring out where we're going to go next. Yeah, it's critical time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Boo's going to catch the heat for this. If Woodson is really the one blocking him, Boo's the one going to catch the heat. But I know a lot of people aren't happy. I know a lot of the money big boosters are unhappy. And I know that there are a lot of former players that are unhappy. I got some DMs today from people that I hadn't heard from before, expressing that same concern that we've seen. Like, this program is in the wrong hands. It's all about him. It's not doing anything. Like, that is real. I don't think it's the buyout that is the obstacle here. I don't think it's the 4.4 million. I think 4.5 million wherever he's at. I think it's 1.1 a year. Yeah, I just don't think that's the case. I think there's other reasons why he is afraid to have this conversation, and you guys can read between the lines there. Nick, you have the mic if you want to speak.
You hear me? I'm in the car, Evan.
Yeah, you got it, buddy.
We can talk X's and O's and all of this stuff about NC State, and that, my main thing was just we're playing Carolina and just the whole apathy of the arena. It's pockets of empty seats. I was happy that it wasn't overrun by Carolina fans, but it was just no excitement. And when you think back when even when we sucked when I was in school in the late 90s, it was always an event. I mean, a little bit later, you think about that game with CJ and Lorenzo, and the atmosphere for that Saturday night game against Carolina, and it's just we've just gone too far down the hill to where, again, I don't think anybody's really that upset. It was just nobody. I wasn't angry leaving. It was what we expected, but you know, I think that's the thing that hurts so badly is that we just don't really care anymore as a fan base. And until we can, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, if you bring in another coach, does it give us a little short-term spark? And we can blame COVID, we can blame just the overall apathy towards college basketball in general. But I mean, it was disappointing in there today. And I mean, I don't think there's
And
any other
to
way.
me,
There's no other way to put it.
yep. I think to me that is the biggest issue, right? We've talked about fan apathy all year, and now it's not even just like the fans showed up for that game, which is that's one step. That's just it shows you that people just want to have a little bit of hope, right? And then you see the play on the floor and like, well, it's the same shit we've seen all year, and it's just the absolute boredom and apathetic nature of a crowd for a UNC game, man. That is to me that's unacceptable. It's just crushing as a
Well,
fan.
it seemed to me, and again, at the beginning of the year, I knew that talent-wise, we weren't going to sit up there and be a top 10, top 15, top 20 team. But I really feel like at the beginning of the year, there was that effort and that grind and again, they were scrappy, I guess we could say, with that. And a lot you can cover a lot of warts with when you're scrappy and when you see how hard you're fighting, but it literally that same fight isn't there that we had earlier in the year. And again, you can deal with missed shots, you can deal with bad shots from freshmen, you can deal with all of that stuff, but it just, and again, I'm sure they care, but it just seems like that nobody from the fans to the players have that passion for the game that is missing, that we've needed, and as a fan, we're just hungry for it,
Yep.
and
And I think
and
that's the program is all about individuals. I think that's where we are right now. Like the coach makes it about himself. Some of the players make it about themselves. Like they're trying to get theirs. Everybody's trying to get theirs. And I think that reflects in their attitudes. And the fans pick up on that. We're not stupid. I think people see all this stuff. Right? They see how disorganized and selfish the basketball is. People aren't blind. They might not understand the X's and O's to a T, but they understand the fundamentals of teams and the fundamentals of basketball to a point where you can realize, hey, this is not right. I think Cam, you should have the mic here. Cam was at the game, and I know he's got some things to say whenever his mic connects. Major, I'm going to go ahead and give you 1-2. Go ahead. Oh, I might not have got you in time. Yeah, if y'all got anything to say, feel free to jump on. It's weird. It's weird watching this game and not being upset. And kind of what Nick was saying, like I don't know if I expected it or just kind of numb to it at this point. Whatever it is, it sucks, man. I'm watching this Tennessee Auburn game, and it's the crowd. It was packed before the game, and it's two relevant programs. I just don't know why we are okay with this, right? Cam, you should have the mic now. I think if you connected. Maybe not. The other thing I want, The comparison to 2019 football is what I've heard a lot, and it's nowhere near relevant. You have one starter injured. Football was playing walk-ons at starting positions. Dave Dorn had at least shown the ability to be competitive and win at the higher levels, right? He was really close in 2017 and 2018, and he had shown some recruiting momentum. I just don't think I think if people are throwing out the 2019 football comparison, I think it's because they have their own agenda. And I just don't think it's one that is fair or makes a lot of sense. It's short-sighted to me. Thomas, I'll go ahead and give you Mike so I can stop rambling so much. All right, Thomas should be connected.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Thomas.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I was like, it's nothing close to 2019 where there's, true freshmen having to fill in on that football team. And with this team, I think even back in November and December, when I think going into the season, we're like, all right, well, this isn't the most talented team we've had, even over the past 5 or 6 years. But I think everybody was like, I like this team, even though like we're probably going to struggle to get in the tournament. And then obviously with Bates going down, but going back to some of those games that were just so close and how they played against Purdue, is like sometimes we felt like we had really good offensive firepower. But then I think over the past month or so, it's just been not even close to the same team even that we saw earlier in the season. And just repeatedly now I think of, all right, we don't have the most talented, squad, but we've got athletes. We've got to be able to defend. And I mean, they were talking like on the game today, they're like dead last in the conference in defense efficiency. And at least like somehow we got to know what Carolina was going to do today to be able to stay competitive. And that is, how can we scheme to not let Baycock just completely dominate? And I know we're undermanned in that, from a body standpoint, but I just feel like I wanted to work with Coach Keatts as much as anybody, but there's got to be some better coaching. And I think after a while, people like you just said, they're just trying to get their own, after you're 4-12 or whatever it is in the conference. So it's just kind of frustrating to see it. And obviously the fans are just, it's been a ghost town in PNC.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I was in on Keatts. I liked what he had to say. I know a lot of fans are, but at this point, 5 years in, I've seen enough. I know what we've got. And I don't know, like keeping around another year, I don't think that does anything. I don't think the potential is. I mean, what does another year get you? Okay, maybe he regresses back to the mean, which is middle of the pack, 9th place in the ACC. Is that what folks are happy with? Like, is that good enough? It's not to me, because why are we playing if you're not going to strive to be the best? If you're not going to strive to be relevant, that's the part I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm just really shocked at how the team plays defensively from the perception I had when he came into the program 5 or 6 years ago, like playing 10 guys, you're flying all over the court. They track deflections. And I mean, we're just nothing close to that identity that I thought we were going to have when 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's to me is so disconcerting, right? It's so the disconnect between what he said he wanted to do and what he was actually doing is probably the biggest thing to me. I'm excited. We're going to shoot out threes. We're going to dunks. We're going to play fast. We're going to play pressure defense. We're going to press. We're going to try to be disruptive to make baskets, and we're going to play that sort of basketball. And we have not, man. And we have been nowhere near it. And I think to me that is that's an issue. Kenton, you want to speak? And Cam, I know it seems like you have connection issues. PNC is terrible for cell signal, by the way. So, Kenton, you have the mic going on mute.
Yep. I
Yeah.
got you.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Cam. Go ahead.
Man, that was painful. Took my mom, my stepdad, homies to the game. We were sitting, right there, and I was very quiet, really watching everything. There was no coaching going on, and it wasn't just my perspective on it. I had my cousin, one of my teammates from high school. We know sports, and I sat away from them for a reason. There was no coaching going on whatsoever. There was no commitment to a system, no commitment to a singular anything. Come down, see what happens. For round one, okay, let's get a ball screen. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's swing it. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Even the substitutions didn't make sense. Guys coming in at a time. It's like coach was just really hoping for somebody to save the day for him. And what I've been screaming the whole while is, Coach Keatts, nobody's going to save the day for you but the alumni and all of us that's surrounding the program. We are the only ones that's going to save the day for the Wolfpack, period. Because the guy don't know what he's doing. I'm convinced, and I'm disappointed because he knows better. It doesn't have to be this way. How it got this way is very clear to me. But how to get us out of this is also clear to me too. And we got to make some decisions. And I hate the fact that I sound like this with Keatts being where, I hate all of this. But I'm tired of seeing it. I came to this game today for a reason. I heard the fans. I heard people with Letterman jackets on. The students, they're talking. I heard what they were saying. People are just so upset. They're so fed up. And they're talking negative about everything. And I can't blame them. I cannot rebut because it's just so real. So that's all I can say, at least for now.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. It's just nobody wants to be negative. Nobody wants to be like on this jihad of, we hate Keatts. I don't. I was pulling for him. I wanted him to win. I just want NC State to win. And I think that is, I don't understand. Like, I haven't heard a competent defense of Keatts from a Keatts supporter. Like, if there's a good argument for it, I'd love to hear it. I doubt there's anybody in here that is a defender of Keatts, but if you are, speak up. I would love to hear it because I know you're going to reference the cloud. Okay. It's the one valid excuse that I can even give credence to. The injuries, you got one starter down. Maybe Gant was good. I don't know. He was average 2-2 at Providence. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that it's 2019. I don't want to hear that it's, the injuries are the reason. The injuries are not the reason for poor fundamentals. Injuries are not the reason for bad shot selection or having your hands down on defense. Like a 7-year-old, I coach 7-year-olds today. And they understand the fundamentals of basketball. And they at least expressed it more than what we're getting today. Like Jalen Gibson got abused the few minutes he was in there. And I get it. Baycott's better than he is. But give me that effort, man. Don't go down like a punk. Like, don't be soft. Like, why? I don't get that. I don't get that part. Kenton, if you want to speak.
Hey, but who's working with our bigs, Evan? Who's working with our bigs? You see what I'm saying?
Financial
Carolina is running the same stuff today that they ran when we was there. It's a system. It's a commitment to a way. It's a philosophy. They're big. I can't never say his name right, but I can't never say it. But he was posting up. He looked just like Sean May. That was number Sean May. He did little things.
Yep.
Our bigs, his hand was right in the line of the pass, and then McCart would just move his hand out at the last second. Very subtle. The ref missed it every time. But it was enough to get the pass right in the pocket of the right-hand dunk. Just a step. It's a detail that has to be taught at this level. This is high college basketball, guys. This is ACC. Tar Heels, dude. What are we doing? This is like mid-major. You know what I'm saying? The details.
Yep.
It's crazy. It is. Cam played. Let me say this, because Cam's my guy, and I know his family. I watch everything, especially your approach to the game. Cam was bullshitting too much. He had a good statistical game today, but he was bullshitting on the bench before the game. I saw it. I didn't like it. Over there bullshitting with the guy. He hurt his foot. The guy with the handicap, with the rolly thing, the scooter.
Yeah,
Over there
Ross.
bullshit. Ain't over there bullshitting. I wanted to check him myself. I was right there. I wanted to say something myself, but I would be out of line if I did that. But I'm telling you, I saw, and Cam he's a serious player. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but I'm just saying our approach. We're not dealing with pros here. We're dealing with kids. We're here to build pros with this program. That's what Carolina's doing. That's what Duke is doing. It's a professional element to this that we're missing, from our uniform design to how we treat our fans to everything. And I don't want to hog the mic, but I'm just saying I'm tired of it. And I've seen it up close to this. My first game I went to this season. I'm very disappointed, very. And I hate it for you guys, because I hear the concern. I hear the questions. I see the energy. You guys deserve a real answer. I can give them to you, but it needs to come from the source. Because I know what it is, but it needs to come from the source. And they're hiding behind the phones. They're hiding behind the screens. They're listening to you guys, but they're not doing nothing. They keep coming up with these new initiatives, giving new money to the same old people. Same old faces. We need new initiatives, new stuff. And you guys got to start demanding it from them, because you can. You guys got the power. I'm done.
Yeah, the thing on Cam, like, I almost feel bad for him because he's not getting what he needs. And I said this before you jumped on. It's an absolute roller coaster for him. He had a decent first half, and he was playing within his game, and he played 9 minutes. That's only more than Jalen Gibson and Breon Pass, who played 6 and 2. Like, to me, that's the first half. And Terquavion was 1 for 12 or 2 for 12 at that point and had played 19 of the 20 minutes. You can't have that. He can't have that kind of freedom. And you can't be jerking your rotations around like that. Guys can't get into rhythms. They can't get into flows. And I don't expect Cam to take it serious if they're not taking him serious. If you're not, there's a little bit of coach in there that needs to rein that in and, like, give him a chance. All right, Kenton, for real, if you want to speak this time. Sorry.
Hey, listen, I get it. I'm not. I understand. And I'm always going to defer to the former basketball player here, because that's not what I've done at a high level. But this is y'all know me. I have not been a Keatts defender. I've not been a Doran defender. I've not been a Godfrey. Any coach you can name, I want NC State to win. These coaches having success while they're at NC State, excellent, great. Want to see it. But with that being said, it is harder and harder to see anything with Keatts, but it's not just the on the floor product. When I got here, being born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, you don't know too much about NC State, UNC. When I got here, the first thing I was told, burn everything you have that's light blue. Burn it. We don't like those guys. We don't like anything about them. We had a day where we did where we would all come to the weight room in whatever our high school colors were, and Thunder specifically told us, if it's anything light blue, if it's anything Argyle, I don't care if it's not blue, burn it. We'll get you a shirt from one of our high schools. Like, that's what it was. So to approach this like it's any other game, like Cam was saying, before this game, you joking around and laughing around. What? And here's the thing. I understand what Cam is going through. I've been there. I've been there as a player, that you have a great game, or you have a good game rolling, and you don't get the love that you feel like you deserve afterwards. So you let it get to you because you're young. It's gonna happen. I've been there. I've let it happen to me. You know what I mean? I realize that. But from a standpoint of our program, you have to hate those guys. It's part of the deal. You can't show up here, hey, it's just another game. I gave everything I had every day in practice, every workout, every game, of course. So I didn't have more to give against UNC, but I hated them more than everybody else. With everybody else, it was good sportsmanship. It was, you put them on the ass, you help them up. You say, hey, I'll be back next play. With UNC guys, you wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. And that's what it is. And to see that there's a lack of fire or a, hey, this is just another game, the only way you can get away with that is if you're a championship caliber. That's it. That's it. If you're a championship caliber and you whooping the wheels off everybody to the point where just another game means we're also going to beat you by 30, sure. But where this program is, again, I'm not going to talk about the actual season because I know everybody's upset right now, and I get it. Being at your lowest, we are going to criticize and nitpick everything that has happened. I get that. I'm not talking about stuff that's out of our control. I'm not talking about there only being one big, and let's be honest, Jalen Gibson all year has given us precious little or nothing. So let's not be surprised that Baycott bullied him up and down that court. Let's not be surprised by that. But I'm saying the things that you can control, you can control. So how do you feel about this game? We are going to do everything in our power to dominate our opponent. We do not like these guys. We cannot stand these guys. That's just what it was. When I played, Hakeem Jones said, their quarterback, Marquise, he's good or whatever. You hit him enough, he'll quit. And you know what Dorn told him when he saw him next? Hey, we going to back that up, right? And that was it, because we hate those guys. So the apathy surrounding this game in particular is the most concerning thing to me.
100%. I think you're exactly right. And I think Matt Coe pointed it out early in the week when Keatts had essentially referenced just being just another game. I guess it's important, but it's just, to us, it's another game. Like, that doesn't fly, man. That, to me, that doesn't work. You need – this is important. This is important for – you can see it, right? There was 5 people in the stands for Boston College, and it was probably 80% full today. Like, this game means something for fans. This is Kevin Keatts' chance to get a little bit of the fans back on his side. And I'm not saying they would have, but if you win this game, at least you can point to it. And you have a little bit of, I know how bad you guys want to beat these guys, and so do I, and we did it. But now we're just, where we are. BP, my man.
What's going on?
What's up, buddy?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I know that's not the thing to ask after this game, but I have to echo Cam's CB's statement about the body language and the joking around and all that. I mean, it's one thing if you see Smith out there at the end of the game just kind of walking back up the court at the end, with 20 seconds left on the clock, and he's just walking up the court. He's dejected. I understand that. I mean, this kid has won every level he's been on, and he's, unfortunately for some, if you're going through a tough season like this is the first exposure to, some challenges like this, and I understand that's going to be, very challenging for them. But you always have to take it up a level versus Carolina, always. And now the big question is always going to be what happens now. And I know what the majority of a lot of folks on Twitter and some folks on some of the message boards, whether it's us at IPS or at PackPride, whoever, Wolfpacker, wherever. I know what they want to see happen, but I think we know. I think several of us know, unless there is major, just egg on the wall the rest of the way. Keatts is going to be here again next year, and so folks need to go ahead and accept that.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. I kind of what we've been hearing, and but I think losing at home to 12 to BC or 8 to BC and 10 to Carolina. I mean, that's a pretty good egg on the wall, and you're about to go on the road, and you're likely to get stomped by Wake Forest if we're being serious. And then Florida State, they're down a bunch of starters, but I still think they're going to be better than us. They've shown more than us. I don't know what the defense is and how they're going to, if they don't care about selling tickets, that's fine. If they don't care about the program, all right, fine. I'll put my time into something else. But how are they going to say, hey, we really believe we saw something in Kevin Keatts. Like, what? I'm still waiting for that person to stand up and say, this is what I see, right? This is why I think we can be good, or this is why I think he can do it. But right now, I've seen nothing. I've seen none of that. And BP, let me ask you this: do you think it is buyout related, or do you think there are other issues?
Me personally, I think you're looking at partial buyout. The majority of it would be buyout. I'd say 75%. I think that there's quite a bit of money still on the table that the school would have to absorb. I think there's probably some other reasons somebody has. I'm not sure exactly specifically what those would be.
Yeah.
I think that some of the investigation part comes in. Some of the stuff we've seen where we've had he's had this investigation hanging over the program for the past several years. Well, we do know that has affected some of the recruiting issues and such. So I mean, yeah, that's a very valid point. But whenever you're not making adjustments on the court, the investigation doesn't have anything to do with that. And that's where I think a lot of people kind of step back from it and say, yeah, I don't know how I can support this, because there are some things that are not happening that you would expect to happen, and it has nothing to do with the investigation. So I mean, yeah. I've been on record on IPS and on Twitter and everything. I like Kevin, but at the same point in time, I mean, there's just some steps that you would like to see, some things that you would like to happen, and you're not seeing them, and it's it's hard to defend stuff like that. I mean, same thing James has said many times on the site and on the podcast. He can kind of see it halfway, half and half, with certain points that are being made to keep them, and then to get rid of them. It's usually whenever there's a 50-50 way about everything going on with the folks in charge, a lot of times they're just going to hold on to them one more year, and that's I think that's what's going to happen, whether I agree with it or not. That's they're the ones in charge. So.
Yeah. So speaking of James, he just put out a tweet on, I assume it's him, IPS, from a Kevin Keatts quote. Y'all are going to love this one. Kevin Keatts quote from the press conference: "I love where my program is at." Why the hell would Kevin Keatts say that? You were DFL in the ACC, and you love where your program is at.
Guys, they're saving face. That's all they're trying to do. BP, you said some very good stuff. I can tell that you have your sources you got your sources. I'm sure we have some similar sources. I'm hearing, and these are details that I don't mind voicing, because hey, we don't know if they're true or not, right? So I'm just something I heard. So if we want to talk money, the question is this: the issue is this: is it going to be Keatts or the players? Because this is the thing about it. If we want to talk about recruiting and the future of the program and this, and this, then we got to understand this. TQ, he wants to be at State. He really wants to be there. Cam really wants to be there. Sebron is getting fed up. You can see it in his face. Manny wants to be there as well. So what happens is now, okay, we got to talk about what it's going to take to keep them there. It's going to take, may have to, get some talk money, right? So I'm hearing $300,000. I'm hearing $100,000 to Manny, $100,000 to potentially TQ. This is what I'm hearing. But the thing about it is this: is like, again, what I've been suggesting. Hey guys, look, they want to call your bluff, you call theirs. Go explore the waters. Let's see how much your value is worth. Everybody. Now let's come back to the table. Now let's talk money. Let's see what the value is of our roster, and let's see what the potential value or what it could bring in. Okay, let's calculate that. Now let's calculate what this man is getting, and let's calculate what he's jeopardizing. Let's talk money, because I know that TQ can bring, he has the potential to bring more and do more for our recruiting than Keatts personally can. I know that kid can. He's charismatic. He has a motor. He cares. He's vocal. He's an NC kid. He's setting records. He does more for the recruiting than Coach Keatts does. So the focus needs to be back where it needs to be, and it needs to be on the boys and the girls of the program. That's where it needs to be. If you want to talk money, let's talk. What is the collective value of Sebron TQ on the market right now? What is our true value? What do we have here? Now, do we want to jeopardize losing that and what potentially that could bring for this man, for this one guy? Pay the buyout, get him out of here. Let's go. Let's move on. Now, I also personally know Keatts, and I love the man. We're talking business.
Yep.
That's all we're doing. It isn't personal. I had to talk with Ernie Myers today. Ernie is not personal. He knows that now. See the picture, is not personal. None of this is personal. We're talking strictly business, and I think you guys understand that. I'm gonna be quiet now.
No, I had the similar conversations after the BC game with Derek Wittenberg. It's where's the pulse right now? Of course, the big question whenever and Cam, you brought up a good point about the players versus the coach with a collective like that. And of course, that's going to be part of it. Is I've heard the same thing. $300,000 is what it's going to take to get these guys back. Certain guys, at least 3 guys that I know of. But then what's going to happen if we were to let go of Keatts, and then next thing you know, what happens with Dillingham? Because it gets to a point, just like we've seen in football, you've got players that want to play with other players. Whenever Drake committed to State in football, all of a sudden it was like a magnet. The gravity field around Drake just brought players into the NC State football solar system.
We're talking
So
Donda. We're talking Donda. We're talking Kanye West. We're talking a whole nother brand of Adidas. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in the meeting. I hate to cut you off, Evan, but I'm sitting in the meeting with our
good.
guys, and they're looking at me, and they don't get it. They don't understand our licensing. They don't believe that you guys want the products and the concept that I'm showing them that I know you guys want. They don't believe you guys want it. They don't think they don't understand you guys. They're struggling to understand you guys as a fan base, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. Go ahead. I'm gonna be quiet.
Let me jump in. Let me back up on Dillingham. Right, we talked about this. We did a space earlier in the week, randomly Wednesday night, I guess it was, and Gabe from Hoop State Network, I believe that's where he is, was on there and we were talking about Dillingham. And like, all right, let's say Dillingham does like Keatts, right? Maybe that was enough for him to pick us over Kansas, or it was Kentucky, but we're an Adidas school. He goes to Donda. He's the Kanye school, which Kanye's an Adidas guy. Dillingham is going to an Adidas school. So even if you get rid of Keatts,
he's still coming to State, guys. He's still coming.
There's enough influence there from Adidas and Donda that he is likely going to pick his home state school, which is North Carolina home state, Adidas school, which is us.
Yep.
So I don't believe that you hang out to Keatts just because the chance that you might lose Dillingham.
Yeah,
no program is worth that.
And again, that was just the just a proposal, just a hypothetical that I was presented. Yeah.
Let me just give y'all a warning now. If we're talking dollars and cents, like Cam said, let me just give y'all a quick warning here. Remember, Florida State was in a very similar place with Taggart, and everybody knew Taggart was a clown. He was a joke. Everybody knew he wasn't a very good coach. Hey, can y'all hear me? Is this on?
Yep. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, we got you.
Remember now, Taggart had a very similar situation where everybody knew, hey, this guy, he does not belong here. This is not going to be good for us. They had to buy him out. They paid Norvell. Then after Norvell, everybody's like, wait a minute, you just lost Travis Hunter to a division or a FCS school? What under God's green earth is going on? Now they want to get rid of him, and everybody's saying, oh, we can't. We cannot afford to. So while we may not be thinking about buyout in terms of like, oh yeah, everything is fine, one buyout is cool, it's a thing of if you pay him out and you miss again, and now you're stuck paying 2 contracts, you could get yourself into some trouble there. So
Okay,
unfortunately,
hold on. I got a Florida State fan in the car. He got to rebut you, big dog. Hold on.
What's going on, big dog? This Cam Cousin Hop. So,
What's up, man?
you got to look at the Travis Hunter situation, right? Travis Hunter went to go play for Deion, who's arguably the greatest defensive back to ever play the game. He's a hands-on coach. And every single coach that's on his staff at Jackson State has played in the NFL. Granted,
Yeah.
Florida State has a good staff. You don't have a staff of the magnitude that Jackson State has when you compare them with Florida State. Florida State staff don't match up. So that's why they were able to flip him and then grab other players. You got to think about it too. He's able to get players from the SEC to transfer in left and right, even if they were starting or they were the next up guy.
So bringing this back to what Kent was saying, like if you get into this cycle of 5-year churning coaches, which is where we are right now, and I get it, it is unfortunate, but at some point you have to, like, you don't do this to hire another CAA coach, right? You don't go and get the Wilmington's coach. You go and take your shots at some names. Make this job very attractive to them. So you don't have to do this, right? Go out there and take a shot at, I'm just going to throw a name out. Throw Nate Oates, right? He's making less than Keatts is at Alabama. Go take a shot at him. Say, hey, you have 10 years. 10. Give him 10 years. Just give him a stupid contract and say, you have 10 years. We think you can do it. You've won at Buffalo. You've won at Alabama. We think you can do it here. We want you. You're our guy. Throw the money at him. Make the job. Make it so that we're not in this cycle. Don't go and hire somebody who hasn't done it before, a guy who's only done it for 2 years or done it at the level, or at least go to the high G5 level and take those shots.
You
I'm
know,
not.
I had this conversation a lot today. What kind of coach? I think it's an age thing. We need somebody, and Evan, you and I talked about this too. It needs to be someone, whether we look at Jimmy V, if you want to look at that, if you want to look, it took Dean 30 years, poor Dean. That was a different situation. I think K, it took about 11. Jimmy, 3. Norm, those guys were young. You got to get somebody young in who has ambition, who has goals, but also, I'm talking about NC State, but also knows the tradition and the legacy and the history and the importance of certain things, importance of the Carolina game, importance of alumni. You have to have this constituency, this filter, this buffer. We got to get, like you said, if you give a guy a 10-year contract, you got to look at his age, man. Like, how old is this guy now? Like, and what's the room for growth? Like, I think Keatts, we can't get this. We can't get these stubborn older gentlemen in with
He's
all of this
47.
pride and ego. Yeah, I mean, like Wes is my guy, Wes Miller, and I know he's a Carolina guy, but Wes was like the perfect guy for me because he had the energy of he was a player, so he still had that competitive juice, but he was able to transform that and transmit that into his coaching, and then he got Jackie Manuel around him in UNCG, and he started just doing all the right things, and he's young, and he just, I don't know, we need somebody like that at State, dude. We need somebody of the right age who we can mold and teach, but also he has his own juice and vigor and conviction that to match, and we have something unique. That's what we had with Jimmy V. We need that, and it's not about going back to '83 again, but we need that recipe. It's a formula that we need in NC State.
Hey, I didn't
Go
jump
ahead,
in.
Cory.
I didn't jump in here to talk about the coaching search or anything along those lines, wherever this is heading. But did want to mention the fact that there was some discussion earlier about Robert Dillingham and his status in all of this, and this is just directly from his family. I mean, from talking to them, they've said that in the past, if Kevin Keatts wasn't there, they're not coming to NC State. So. I'm not saying one way or another whether that should deter anybody from making any decisions, but what I'm saying is if we're trying to make the argument that he's going to come to an Adidas school and it's going to be NC State regardless, that's not so much the case. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Corey. I didn't mean to imply that it was a sure thing. I
Well,
think
the
it's
hell with
still.
Dillingham. The hell with Dillingham then. We
All right,
want
Cam,
people to
hang
come
on,
to
hang on,
state for
hang on,
see.
hang on. I got
Yeah,
mute.
exactly.
Hang on, Cam.
No, I agree with that, but I think it's
Yeah,
honestly, it's knowing that he was going to his style. And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, what's Kevin Keatts' style?" I know a lot of people are going to get upset with that idea, but he said he wants to come into that style where he can be more of a on-ball, off-ball player and thrive in both of those different types of roles. So that's
yeah,
kind of the reason why he wanted to come to NC State in the first place, was to play for Kevin Keatts. But if we're making the argument here, and I know I saw a tweet earlier from you about this isn't the 2019 football team. That's short-sighted to say, and I get that. But if there's going to be a turnaround, if there's going to be any type of change, that similar thing has to happen this coming up offseason. There has to be change within the program. You saw what Dave Doran was able to do, the way that he was able to reinvigorate the program, where they're at now, and a lot of that had to do with building upon what they had, getting the players back that they felt really, really good about. And you can do that in basketball a little quicker than you can in football because there's only 5 players on the court. And it also has a lot to do with, changeover in the staff. And we'll see exactly what the next few months hold as far as the transfer portal, as far as being able to land some guys that they're going after in 2022 and what that holds.
yeah. So backing up, Dillingham, he might not come if Keatts is not here, but he might like another coach might come in where there's a connection or something. So we don't know for sure what that is, but there's a lot of things weighing in our favor there. In
Yeah, and
regards to the
I'll say too, he is also, just to remind people, he's also 2023. So there is
right,
still an additional year before he would even come to NC State and make an impact. But also, there's time to try to build that relationship. But from what I've been told, as far as
yeah,
why he wants to come to NC State, it's because of Kevin Keatts.
correct. And then regarding the coaching staff, and the reason I say it's not the same is because I don't think in basketball you have the same impact with your assistants that you do with football. Your defensive coordinators are calling plays, your offensive coordinators are calling plays in most cases. And in basketball, if your head coach is not letting them do their things that they want to do, then I don't know how much of an impact a coaching staff has in that regards. I think you still have a puppet master that is a bigger influence over the program. Where in college football, I think your head coach is a manager and he's an organizer and an executive, wherein his assistants do their thing. And so I think that's where the difference is for me. That yes, I understand people are going to say he needs to change his staff and that, but I don't know if you're going to see that same correlation to success there. And that's where I'm going with that. And I get it's bad years and all that, but I think there's more to it than, hey, he needs to change his staff. I don't think that's good enough. I don't.
Yeah,
BP.
we've talked about that before. You know that we've talked about that is, and we've said it earlier this week is you saw the bench for the coaching staff for Boston College during the game. I was lucky enough to go right there and end up sitting courtside and right across from their bench. I mean, those coaches were not sitting down; they were up. They had ants in their pants, hot potato, drawing up plays, showing it to the head coach, and then turn around and then just consulting with the players. Kind of like it, almost in a sense, like it was a football coaching room where you had the main guy, then you had the coaches, the assistants out there coordinating within their own rooms, their own position rooms. That's what it looked like, against Boston College. And I look down at the other end, and it's Kevin up, coaching, and then the other guys are kind of whispering here and there, and you'll see him say something to a few of the players, but it's just, and it is possibly part of the year that we're having. I totally get that, and I understand that, but those are two disparaging images that hey, and that's my background. I'm in, my degrees in public relations. Part of that is the image that you portray. That is part of your marketing scheme and everything. I know Cam will say something about that as well. You're promoting your image, whether you're losing or winning. How do you? And that gets into what Keatts gets into after the games. people will sit there and say, and Evan, you said something about, Keatts' tweet that James highlighted, or one of the quotes is, I like where this team is going. He's trying to promote that. He's trying to show that we're taking a step forward, even though it looks like we're taking 2 steps back. Even if we are taking an L against Carolina, you still want to pin out the positives. You still want to pick up on the positives, and you want to feed that to your players so they're not walking up the court at the end of the game dragging their feet. Keatts gets that. For everything that everybody can sit there and dog him and try to get blocked by him and everything like that, you have to give him that credit. You have to acknowledge that he's doing what a good coach should do, and he's trying to keep things moving forward. And you just have to keep doing that, whether it's good or bad. Even on the bad image side of, I know that this is going to get me rolled on Twitter and social media, but you know what? Hey, you know what? My guy, hey, Manny's getting better. Daggone, if you got to say, something about Manny Bates, and I know you're playing bingo after the game and everything, Evan, but still, you're trying to promote that positive vibe, even if it's the ugliest thing. I mean, even in the corporate world, if I get into a meeting and I work in logistics during the day, and of course we've had our crap going on this past 2 years with everything. Even if I've got somebody yelling at me for a shipment that's like 5 months late right now, I can at least point out something positive. Well, at least the ship's outside the port of Charleston. It's not in there yet, but at least it's here. I'm going to point to anything positive to keep that motion going forward. And that's what Keatts is trying to do. Even if it looks like he's got egg on his face, he's still going to do it. So
I didn't want that last comment that I made to sound like there's any kind of ill will towards the assistant coaches either right now. I know from talking within the program, like, these assistants are working their asses off too. I mean, they're fighting their asses off to try to get things going. I mean, James Johnson has been responsible for the bigs for years. Mike Summy has taken over as the leader of the guards basically over the last 2 years for NC State, and you've seen some growth. Obviously, we've seen some regression from Cam Hayes. You guys were talking obviously about the big game that he had in this game today. But at the same time, you've seen, the guards progress over the last couple of years. I hate it for JJ because, I mean, you look at what he's really had to deal with in terms of the bigs this year. There's only 2 guys left out of the post, and you have 3 that are sitting either on a scooter or sitting on the edge of the bench there. So really tough situation there for either of these guys to really deal with. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't want it to come off as that at all. It's just a matter of, that's how it was done 2 years ago. If there's any chance of trying to, mirror that or try to invest in the program in any way, shape, or form and try to get the players they want to get, that's the only reason why I ever bring up that model as well.
Yeah, and you highlighted JJ Johnson. That he's a real dude now. Folks kind of forget he's on the bench. James Johnson is a real dude. He's a good coach.
He's been ripping his ass off too.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. So
I'm not disagreeing with either one of you guys, but at the same time, from what people say who are around the program, that these guys, their input is not taken with full regard. I think that is an issue. You can have freaking Pat Riley and Phil Jackson on the bench, and if you're not taking their input, it's worthless. And so that's the concern with me. And baseball just tied this game up. Did Tommy White just hit a double, clear the bases? I know they're down 1. But that's the point for me, is just like, you can't be micromanaging things to the point where you don't let guys do their job. You have to trust your staff. And the analogy with Dave Dorn, he trusts his staff. He lets them do what they need to do. Right? That's what everybody says. And if you don't, then I think that there's a bigger problem there. Nick, I know you've been wanting to speak. I apologize. You want to jump on here? Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you letting me talk. I mean, we're having great talks. This is like the one bright spot after you having to watch a game like that we can just come in here and at least share what we are thinking. But yeah, anyways, first off, I just want to say, Breon Pass, I don't know if I've ever, and I've been an NC State fan. I'm 23 now, just graduated in May. So my first year at State was Keatts' first year. I don't know if I've ever seen a freshman that I've enjoyed watching so much. Obviously, Baby T, he's electric, but Breon Pass is a hard worker, and I think he deserves more minutes. But that's getting me to my topic of basically. I've watched a lot of the games. I mean, I went to every game when I was at State, football and basketball. I did not miss one except when it was for COVID. And I still watch it on my computer when at home now. But I just don't see the culture that I feel like the NC State has grown from like the players. And I hate to go against what Cory and BP were saying, but even some of like the coaching staff, you don't see them getting electric like I thought they would. Like Baby T will dunk it. You might get the walk on. I think his name's Austin. He'll stand up and like go crazy, but like other than Breon maybe on the bench, like I don't see like the excitement. I know Sebron and Cam Hayes, both of them are kind of the quieter, not really expressive, but I just don't see the electric they used to get out like Markel or Devin Daniels. I just don't see the culture that I thought you would see in a team like Keatts would want to bring. He came in year one, was my freshman year, and he was like, we're going to press the entire game. We're running 10 deep. We're going to be all over the place. And I know we've talked about that earlier in this call, but
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing that. That maybe that's why I wish like maybe there was a change with even like the starting lineup or the way you do your rotation. Because, maybe at this point in the season, we're probably going to finish last in the ACC, maybe move up one spot, give or take. Throw Breon Pass. He's a freshman. He's probably going to be there next year. Throw him in there to start a game and see what he can do at starter minutes. Or even like, we've never seen the 1-2, and I know maybe it's not dominant, but, we've never seen the change of maybe throw Gibson at the power forward and then EB at center. It's either one or the other. We're not seeing, I'm not saying that would work. I'm just saying, see what it does. Probably EB's going to be back next year. Gibson's probably going to be back next year. So, like, I wish we could just see. I feel like we've lost 16 out of our last 20. I just wish we could see maybe a different starting lineup. I swear, I always check the starting lineup and it's the same starting lineup unless someone's injured. And I know those are probably our best 5 guys, but at this point in the season, throw Breon past that starting spot and then move everyone up one spot, or whatever the case may be. But I just wish we could see some type of change to. I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm gonna let you talk, but just the culture and the change is what I would like to see. I like I said, I like Breon Pass, and I just wish he could get starter minutes for one game just to see what he could do at his production level.
That to me, and I've said it before, one of the biggest disconnects I have with Keatts is the fact that he isn't doing what he said he was going to do. He isn't doing what made him successful at Wilmington from the high pressure, fast paced, and all of the things. That to me is one that stands out the most. That I just wish he would have stayed true to that. And I thought that's why he was recruiting so many guards, so many guys like Breon Pass who are just athletic. Shaq Moore. Imagine Breon Pass, Shaq Moore in running the head of your press. Like, those guys are real athletes, and I really thought that's where we were going with all of this, and the disconnect from where he said he was going to do. And I don't know why that is. I don't know where we've kind of gotten away from that, but it's showing in the defensive inefficiency. The offense is poor. You just look at KenPom ratings, and we're in the bottom of the league in all of them. And baseball team just tied it up 10-10. That's amazing.
Can we just make this a Tommy Tanks chat room?
I was going to say, what did Tommy Tanks cough and hit one over right field?
No, he had 2 men on, and hit a base clearing double, and then pass ball got him to third, and then I think that is JT Jarrett just hit a liner at first who bobbled it and got the run in.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll point out to what both of you guys are just saying, and especially Nick, I love the idea of Breon Pass going into the starting lineup. The only issue is kind of the same thing that you ran into when Thomas Allen was healthy. If you put him in the lineup at that point, you don't have enough size in the lineup. I mean, you really don't right now at all, because you've got 2 guys who are above 6'8". And that's really it. That's all you got in your lineup. So when you have those 2 on the court, and the issue is if you put those 2 on the court at the same time, then where's the offense going to come from? I mean, you're running three. Are you just going to run your three big three outside of that, and then have Darion at the point? You don't have the bigs aren't scoring right now. They're not playing well enough defensively, and they're not getting rebounds. So that to me is a problem. And obviously, as we talked about beforehand, you only have two guys that you're leaning upon right now. I think a combined 3 rebounds between Gibson and Duana today, and combined 8 points between the two of them. So you're just not getting the offense from them. And look, let's continue to say this though, because it is a point that needs to be made here. The fact that between the two of them, they were not expected to be guys to step into those roles this year by any stretch of the imagination, and have been asked to do so. But going back to what was being said here about about not being able to push the pace too and getting up and down the court, just want to continue on that as well. When you have 8 players, it's kind of difficult to when you're
now it is, Corey,
players already as well.
Now it is, but they haven't been doing it all year. Like, well, let's be honest about that. And sure, you have less players, but even the guys on TV, and I know you're at the game, so you weren't listening to them. The announcers are like, they need to go small. They need to go zone. They need to be pressing with guards. Like, and this is not the only game that it's happened. This has been a repeated instance. You can put Pass out there, Morcell out there, Hayes out there, Smith out there, Helms out there. And you can put your athletes out there and execute this sort of offense and this kind of pressure. We haven't all year. It's not because we're down to 8 guys. That, to me, that's a nonsense excuse. He hasn't adjusted. He's still trying to ram a square peg into a round hole, and that is a concern to me. Like, he's been doing all year. I'm not the only one to say it. Like, Scott Wood was on here on our last space saying the same thing. Like, he's saying this is what I see that's an issue. He's not getting the most out of his guys, or not getting, adjusting to what he's got. Go zone. He went zone, disrupted Carolina a little bit, went back to man. Carolina went back to Baycott and just started thrashing us. Like,
yeah, that's the exact same thing they did against Boston College earlier this week too. I mean,
yes.
Boston College finally figured it out and started playing well. Yeah. They went back to man. That's something they're more comfortable with. And I mean, look, I'm not saying I know it's not. Obviously they should be pressing more. I'm sitting there watching the game thinking the exact same thing. I'm just trying to point as to why it hasn't been as prevalent the last 2 years, because they did the exact same thing last year where they were trying to get going. And a lot of times when they had guys like Helms out of the lineup, or they had others out of the lineup, they didn't go to that press as much. That's what's been the case this year, because, and I get it. They started the year with 12 players, never once had Greg Gant. So you started the year basically with 11 players. Mandy Bates goes down 30 seconds in, you start the year with 10 players. So yeah, it's gone down even more, and you've lost players, for certain games too. I mean, you think back to the game without Duana, where you had Gibson in, and he was the lone big man, and they didn't press at all in that game. So it's just a counterpoint to the fact that I'm not saying all I'm trying to point out is he's not completely getting away from the press defense. It's more so that it's, now at this point, it's out of necessity to save the energy and try to finish some of these games. The unfortunate part is they're not really in the games late anymore, like they were early on the season. So you're not exactly battling at the end of them. So
I get it.
It's all for naught.
No, I mean, I do get it. I hadn't seen enough of that from even in years past. Like, we don't play the high press he wants to run, right? We pick up full court, but that's not the same. And I think there's there's some fundamentals there. And then when I watch these guys drive down the court, even today, and then maybe it's just the place we are in the season where you have guys just like, there's no passes, there's no movement.
Yep.
You're trying to get a guy to make something happen. I think Bennerman said it earlier, or like it's Keatts relying on a guy to make a play, right? Helms got the ball, dribbled right down into the paint, took a bad fadeaway shot. I mean, there was 0 passes. There was 20 seconds on the clock. I'm like, Terquavion comes down and jacks up a deep 3, 4 seconds into the shot clock. Like, there's just some things in there that the coaches got to reel in, and you wouldn't see that from a lot of coaches. And I think that That's the frustrating part of it.
And I saw your tweet as well. Like two assists at halftime is, I mean, that's beyond pathetic in my opinion. I grew up playing basketball. I mean, I obviously didn't play at a Division I level, but that's a little something. That's a red flag, and because you should have two assists on 3 buckets or 4 buckets. Like half of the 4 buckets should be assists, and you have 2 the entire half. That I don't know. That's something I saw as well, and that brings me back to what I said about culture. Is like this was senior day against UNC.
Yeah,
and like this is the game. This is why you came to NC State for moments like this game. And especially for Keatts, Coach K stepping down, Roy Williams just stepped down. You get this win today, you could kind of turn the corner for next year and know that, okay, the triangle is a fresh triangle. Like, it's whoever wants to take over the triangle. Obviously, Duke's going to still get the recruits and UNC's going to still get the recruits, but you're at a fresh slate with coaches. And I just feel like, he had his chance to go ahead and establish himself, and with being in year 5, and now Herbert Davis swept him in his first year. Duke's getting recruits next year, so I just don't see anything different. And I don't know. I'm just rambling, but I appreciate you letting me talk.
Of course. Matt Coe, you want to jump in on here?
Hello?
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How's everybody doing after that one? I am just now checking.
Hey, Evan, I had a question for you.
Go ahead, Cam.
You said something earlier about we went zone. We were in zone. It worked well, and then we went back to man. What I'm asking the listeners is, why would a coach decide to go man from a zone? What is the one thing that would make a coach do that? Just talking strategy, just talking the game.
Oh, well,
it's called rebounding.
Yeah.
We was getting smashed on the boards. See what I'm saying? You go zone, long rebounds. There's more threes. It was a rebounding issue that coach was trying to cover up on. That's why he was flip flopping with his schemes. We have to. I think if we're going to also critique the game, we got to really watch the game. We got to know our personnel. Like you said, we're defensively all year we've been trying to. It's been patchwork. Whether it's been our rotations off the ball on the back end. Our guards back there on that block trying to rotate over late, or whether it's us in the pick and roll situations and communication. There's something going on there, like you say. I forget who it was. He alluded to the staff not being such an issue. It is an issue because the kids have to be developed. When they come here, we talk about Dillingham and all these names. Doesn't matter who the kid is. They're kids, and they have to be developed to get the best and the most out of them. And we're going to run the risk of I know for a fact right now we're going to run the risk of losing some of our most important players with what's going on right now. Keatts, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're just not happy, and the staff has a lot to do with it. They got to bring the best out of the players. They got to understand them. A lot goes into it, but the staff does matter. And in relationship with Keatts and his staff, that does matter. Is he listening to him? I think he's listening to him. He does have a good relationship. Everybody in there likes each other. I don't think that's the issue, but I think this is just the Coach Keatts show, and he's going to do it his way. He's going to do it like how he wants. I think BP said that. Like you said, it's just kind of how he, whether we like how he's going to do it. But that's an issue, and the kids need to be developed. Even if Dillingham comes in, no matter where he goes, he needs to be developed, and shine. That diamond needs to shine bright, and that's the staff and the program's responsibility.
And for the record, as we learned from watching Hoosiers, you pass the ball 4 times before you take a shot.
At
least. The only point I'll bring up about that too, obviously, yes. There was a lot of ISO ball still being played, and especially early on. I mean, Sebron, I don't know how many times he overshot a couple of those, and it looked like open looks, and he just overshot it. But I mean, and I made this point on Twitter a few times, like even on possessions where there was great ball movement, and they got it led to an outside 3-pointer. Like, it was a wide open look. Morcell missed a couple. Terquavion Smith missed a couple. I mean, they're finally getting open looks, and they can't knock those down. And that had a lot to do with the fact that the ball movement got stuck again later on because they're just looking to play hero ball again.
Yeah, coaches got to get that unstuck, though. I mean, that's where we're not in week 1 of the season, right? You can't let them fall back into that pattern. You would see, I hate to reference Carolina, but Roy Williams would do it, right? He would sub everybody out when they started playing like shit. I'm like, hey, guys, get your stuff back together.
Yeah,
So,
you're going to put 3 guys out there on the court if you sub all 5 out there? I mean,
you get the point. You get the point.
That's more a point for the people who keep saying, hey, take Terquavion Smith out because he's missing a lot of shots. All right, you're going to put Breon Pass out there? Okay, we'll take Cam Hayes out because he's missing a lot of shots. All right, now who are you going to put out there? I mean, that's the issue you're running into. It's like you can make a point all you want, but then you run into the issue of, all right, man, I don't have the bodies to keep taking guys off the court if they're not playing well. You've just got to stick with the guys you got, and a lot of times it ends up leading to some pretty bad basketball at the end of the games.
There's a difference between taking him out because he's not playing well and taking him out because he's out of control. Terquavion gets out of control. I love the kid. I love his energy. He takes a lot of bad shots. He took a lot of bad shots in this game. Early in the clock, deep threes, contested, 0 pass. Like, I'm taking him out of the game. I'm not letting him play 19 minutes in the first half when he's just slinging like that. To me, that's not how I'm coaching my team. And maybe Keatts is different. Maybe he wants to give him flow. I am putting Pass in there that regards. I'm putting Cam in there, who played 9 minutes in the first half. Right? I'm trying to balance these rotations a little bit better, despite my roster deficiencies. Like, Cam was the leading scorer in the first half. He, wasn't perfect, but he didn't jack up 12 shots out of control. And there's some things in there that are just, you can have a deficient roster, you can have injuries, but I don't agree with letting your team just roll like that. I think there needs to be, you need to saddle him a little bit, certain players. Matt Coe, go ahead and jump in again.
What's up, man? I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. I'm sorry I'm late. I just got out of PNC.
Congratulations to Matt Coe. I saw the Twitter earlier, your tweet about your new position with the media
it's not really
within
a new position.
WPN, Matt. Congratulations.
It's not really a new position or anything like that.
I know that's something that you always cared about doing. Anybody who knows you knows that, and it's good to see you in a position that you desire to be in.
Can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, it's not really a new position or anything like that. I was just happy to just be there. Like, NC State is my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love NC State basketball. Even if we're in last place and it's a terrible year and we got killed, like, I was having goosebumps just walking in there, like getting to be a part of NC State versus Carolina. And, obviously we were on the opposite end and it wasn't a good game, but it's just, for me, just being in the arena, seeing all that red and, being a part of it is something that has mattered to me even when I was a little kid. So it was kind of surreal that I was a part of that legendary, rivalry between the two programs. So that was just really just me saying, like, thank you to NC State basketball. But I guess about the game, it was not close at all, to say the least. And, it wasn't just a good game from Bacon. It was a legendary game. He actually tied Billy Cunningham for most rebounds versus NC State all time with 18. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Like, I think Bacon's good. You know what I'm saying? Is he NBA good? Maybe. It's more so of a product on the court, and I know that we don't have the bodies, so that's obviously an easy argument to be made. But there is some stuff that happened during the media presser where people were asking Keatts, why are you telling us one thing when another thing is happening? And I thought that was really interesting. That was probably the first time I've ever seen, I don't want to call it a heated exchange because that's not the right word, but it was definitely might have ruffled some feathers for Keatts. Asking about Bates, why is he participating in this? How have you not talked to him about, his future and all this, that, and whatnot. But I that was the first time that I personally got to witness Keatts he just looked defeated. And it was just interesting for me. I asked him actually about the red jacket because for me that gets bonus points. I know that a lot of people have their feelings about him, but I appreciate the red jacket. I always will. I don't care who our coach is. And I asked him about the jacket. He said he did it for the kids and for the students and the seniors because they want to remember this picture for all time and whatnot. And I just found it weird because he's been downplaying this game, yet he's dressed to the nines. We got all these fans. Like, clearly this game matters. He just looked really defeated, and I think there was a lot of tension in the media room, especially with that decision with Bates. And I think there's just a lot of tension across the board between fans. So,
just to be clear too about the Bates thing, there was a conversation beforehand. He actually. That wasn't the plan initially. Was they were just going to be honoring the two, and then I don't know exactly.
Keatts said too to help your argument too, Corey. He did say, like, I don't know if this is a good idea. So
yeah, and I mean,
defense, he did say that.
Yeah, and he wanted to. Bates said he wanted to be on the court with Jericho Helms, who came in the same class with him. He wanted to, participate in it alongside him. And, obviously it was written into the script multiple times how many years of eligibility he had left as he came onto the court. So, they basically said there's no reason for, for that to say that it's his last game or his last time that'll be out of PNC Arena. But, there's going to be some serious discussions about whether or not he wants to return. And that's starting, right once the season ends. So.
Yeah, and I think because I asked him this, I had this question made up probably for the last couple of weeks, but I was kind of holding on to it. I asked him straight up. I was like, you can't control injuries. That's fine. 2 games left in his season. What would you wish you had done different? Hindsight being 2020. Is there anything that you would have changed? Any coaching decisions? And he said no. And again, maybe that's just him talking and coaches talk, but I feel like there's got to be at least one. I mean, I think we can all agree the Florida State game, and I'm not here to take a crap on Keatts or anything, but I just don't feel like there was ever any ownership to what went down this season. Whether you can control injuries or not isn't the argument. It's just I didn't see any finger pointing at himself. And so I thought that was kind of where he messed up. Like, he could have went into that presser. He started off by saying, this is a bad season, blah, blah, blah. But never once did he say, like, I could have been better. I'm sorry. This at least somewhat falls on me. And I never got that out of him this season. So I find that kind of troubling to hear. Not only as a guy in the room, but just a fan. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because I remember this was probably the 2016 or 2017 season. No, 2016, not to keep going back to football here, but 2016 season, I believe it was, where Luke DeCock basically called out Dave Doran multiple times because he asked him on several occasions, hey, what's the deal here? What's going on? And Doran was talking about his players instead of talking about him personally. And, I think sometimes when we're looking for something along those lines, we're going to find it. And I think when, in the case of Kevin Keatts, yeah, I mean, he probably needs to put a little bit more of this on himself. But, when I don't know that necessarily means that he's not taking ownership of it with his players. He's not taking ownership of it with his coaches. Because as we've said multiple times on this space, he's taken over probably too much responsibility and taken over too much in trying to, build the team and trying to coach the team instead of giving it up to some of his coaches. So it's really hard to, necessarily say that he's not putting it on himself when he's not doing it in the public eye and probably doing it behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that when your back's against the wall, because, like, let's face it, Keatts' back's against the wall. He's got no support from the fans. What little support he does, it's very, very small. I think it's not necessarily politics, but it would look good in some people's eyes that are kind of teetering or on the fence to be like, hey, like, I'll be better next year, or I messed up. I made some decisions that could have been better, whether that's in game or outside of the game with roster management. That's just, I think that could have been a service to himself. But it is what it is. It's just, it's a bad season. Like, it's a terrible, terrible season. And we can, like you said, Corey, blame anybody this, that, and the third.
All right, Matt, you're cutting out.
Full time, at least in my lifetime, it's probably these crappy AirPods, man. I hate these things. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, I can hear you.
it sounded like you were entering the Matrix there for a few minutes, for a few seconds.
All right, hold on. I'm going to take these out. Hold on. All right, we're back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
All right, cool. Crappy AirPods, man. I'll tell you. iPhone products, they go out every 2 years. I just don't know what to make of it because we have no idea what this roster is going to look like. Let's say we get Manny Bates back. Cool. Who knows if 9 of the other guys are even here? I mean, that's just how easy it is and how different it is. I don't like the argument of, well, if we had Bates, we'd be a top 30 team this year. And, like, I don't believe that because you had Bates last year. You weren't a top 30 team. Like, we got to stop acting like Bates was this Hakeem Olajuwon next coming. I to a degree, you can lose your best player and still be probably the same team or close to the same team. The only team that I can think of in the ACC that if they lost their best player, a.k.a. Paolo Banchero, they wouldn't be the same team. Or they still would be a tournament team, excuse me. They'd still be a tournament team. Outside of that, there is an argument to be made that, like, okay, like, let's say Isaiah Wong goes out, Miami's probably not the same team. But they don't nosedive like we did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Anybody else got anything else to say? This is going on far too long.
I just think that win or lose, fans we want to see the team compete. We want to see them compete. I watched that Wake Forest game, and that's one team I was really confused about that game. I said, I know we're better than them. I said, I'm really watching. I said, we're better than them, but they're just so much more disciplined. They play to their strengths. They're so much more under control. They're just so much of everything that we're not. And there's just only one thing that's responsible for that. It's not a mystery. It's not it ain't all this deep stuff. It's coaching. It's the staff. It's something's not adding up. The whole like ownership thing. Yeah, we don't really know how much ownership he's taking. I mean, my God. I mean, how hard is he really taking it, man? We don't know. I mean, but I hope he's not. I hope he really doesn't think that it's the boys. There was a point in the season where I said, "Oh man, we're just not good enough." But then I said, "No, we are." It's funny because last season, do you guys think that last season was more rigorous than this season? Think about it. Like, be honest. Like, last year was the first. I mean, the pandemic just threw us all for a loop. Do you think last season was more rigorous than this one? Because the NCAA stuff, we seem to handle that pretty smooth. Manny definitely, the injuries that suck. But do you think last year was a little bit more rigorous? Because it seems like we did better in a more hectic environment last year, But now it's a little bit more still waters. Now it's like, okay, let's go, and I don't know. Here we are. What do you think, Evan? Do you think last year was a little bit more rigorous than this year?
On the floor or like schedule wise, like in what
No,
context?
just rigorous period, and all dynamics of just playing the game and just having to win. Whether it's like no fans in the gym, whether it's all the dynamics, because we keep talking about Manny Bates. That's a dynamic, right? People want to bring up these details as to why we can't win. I'm just asking, like, when we think about all the things that add up to like a rigorous season. To me, it seems like last year was more rigorous than this season. This season everybody seems more prepared. It's like it was neutral playing ground. And if you don't want to act like Carolina and Duke doesn't matter, Coach, it does. That's the measuring stick, in all facets. And these two games really showed where we are. And like you said, the future is so Matt said it just now. The future is so weird, because we don't know what's going to happen next. Who's leaving, who's staying. Dillingham, and all, it's all this stuff. It's just up in the air, and it's the staff. I'm just highlighting the staff and the coaches. Because I hate to just keep talking about the boys. I think they're doing all they can. But we got to surround them with the right stuff to bring the best out of them. That's just where I'm at with it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I appreciate that we can have these good conversations. We've got a lot of people in here with opinions and thoughts, and a lot of the same, some different. And I think that's interesting. I think none of us are happy with where the state of the program is, despite Kevin Keatts saying he's happy with where the program is. Still don't understand that one, but overall, just we'll get through it. We'll see what happens. We got 2 more games. Obviously, I don't think anything's going to happen until we move
had
on.
more real shit in the way last year. We have nothing but excuses in the way this year.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I agree.
And I do want to add something just really quick before you end. I just want to hear your opinion. Like, I don't understand how, and Cam, you can speak on this too, but how you have the audacity to say you like where our program is at. I just don't understand. Like, just knowing how big this game was, Helm, someone that's been here for 4 years, senior day against Carolina, and you say and we get the same press conference every game. There is that the bingo card for a reason. It's just like he goes in there, he just says what he has to say to, like you said, keep the nice face, and then it's just nothing's addressed. And I just don't understand how you have the audacity to say that you like where our program is going or where it's at, whatever he said. I just want to hear what you have to say about that quick.
There's always more context to it. Yeah, that's like Debbie Howard replied to me when I said there's got to be more context to that statement. I don't know.
I remember you kind of had me thinking about something. I remember I was playing on a team in Turkey, and there was a point in the season where it was just very tense, and the coach he spoke English well enough. He was a smart guy. He said, "Guys, there's going to come a time in the season where the wall, is green, but we all have to say it's blue." And I was thinking to myself, like, that was terrible, first of all. But second of all, I understood exactly what he was saying. And I disagree. If the wall is green, the wall is green. And we have to deal with that. I don't understand. This is a philosophy. There was some fan that asked me, they was like, yeah, I don't want to get into Keatts as a man. I don't know him as a man, to question him as a man. I said, yes, you guys do. He's been coaching there for 4.5 years. You see his philosophy. How does he fight? How does he prepare? How does he communicate? You see these things. If we go out to eat, how you treat the waiter, how you treat the waitresses, these details of a person. This stuff matters. You can tell a lot about a person by this stuff, especially with sports. It exposes you. It exposes us all and put us in positions to compete, to put our best foot forward, to rise to the occasion or to go the other way. This is sports. And I think all we're talking about is just the spirit of the athlete. Where is it? Where's the spirit of the program?
100%.
I've had so many academia people who don't know anything about sports. They say, it's Keatts. He's just a shell. He's just there. He's just there. I had some friends come to the game tonight, and they were listening. They know sports. He wasn't really saying, but it wasn't a lot of coaching going on. It wasn't a lot of coaching going on. It wasn't a lot of saying of the right things, and I was watching everything, and it's the spirit of the athletes, the spirit of the program that we're tapping into, and being able to understand the spirit of this rivalry game that goes into it, competing, win or lose, and that's just lost. It's not even an issue. It's not even a topic of conversation, and it's just so concerning, because this is such an important body that we're dealing with Wolfpack Nation. This matters so much to us all. and they're trying to act like why should you guys care? Let us do what we're doing. Huh?
Yeah.
No, we got an opinion. We're gonna voice it. We're gonna have spaces. We're gonna give you a hard time. And that's what we got to do, guys. We got to keep giving them a hard. All they care about is their perception. They want to keep talking like everything's fine, and we know it's not. So, it's not personal, but it is what it is.
I think that's a good place to end it, and I appreciate that, Cam. That's a good thought. And I also ended at the baseball team just won in the bottom of the 10th walk-off home run. That's amazing. This team is awesome. At least there's some excitement for some of us on that side, some positive we can be happy about. So hopefully everybody's enjoying this baseball that we're getting right now. And then we'll have these tough conversations in football. I mean, God, I hope not in football. In basketball as we move on.
Never give up. Never give up.
Never give up.
Never
Don't
give up.
accept the status quo. That's where I keep pushing. I mean,
the floor is the ceiling. The ceiling is the roof.
All right, thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Have a good weekend.